Almost Chinese New Year, so it's a great time to pick up some deals on your digital platforms. Psst, we talked about them last week. So, Adam, what have you been playing recently?
Well, I just finished Portal 2 last week, and that was right on the heels of the original Portal. And now I'm playing Red Candle's Detention because I just finished Red Candle's Devotion just a few weeks ago. And you can check out my impressions video on that right now. So go ahead and check that out after the show, not right now because you're watching the show.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't even realize your impressions was up there. Well, I mean, do you want to give us a heads up on like what is your overall impression?
I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like I guess the best comparison would be kind of like a game like Seventh Guest or Myst, where there's kind of puzzle elements to it. Probably more like Myst, I would say, than maybe Seventh Guest. But it's kind of some puzzle elements. You're walking around your 3D world. It's not really, uh, for the most part, there's not too much of a sense of urgency where you have to get something done right now. It's more about figuring out the puzzles, figuring out what you're supposed to be doing, and kind of getting the story and absorbing it as you move through the game. So if you enjoy those kind of games, those kind of walking simulator puzzle type things, I would say it's probably pretty good. But
Nice.
it was packaged as a horror game, but it's overall it's not that scary or not too many jump scares. It's more atmospheric, is more where the spookiness comes from. So
Do you think it's going to be sh as short as Devotion?
which one? The Detention?
Yes.
I think it's going to be shorter because Devotion took me around 3 hours, and yeah, it took me around 3 hours, and so it took me two streams to do it. And Detention, I think I'm pretty close to the end, and I've only streamed for about an hour and a half, so it's probably similar in length, but I think overall, it's probably actually a shorter game if you know what you're doing. And there's definitely it's a lot more minimalistic, so there's a lot less story to it in the terms of all the things you can collect and what you can kind of get into the backgrounds of these characters and whatnot. So I again, Detention was Red Candle's first game. Devotion was their second game. So I think they kind of upped the ante a little bit there. So
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah, I'm going backwards chronologically.
Okay, and today we're going to be talking about two games. One is Adam's experience with Portal 1 and Portal 2, right?
Yep.
And my experience with Slime Rancher, and I'm still playing a little Cyberpunk, but I'm going to be talking about Slime Rancher exclusively at the moment. So, Adam, you want to get us started?
Sure, I'll go right ahead and do that. So I've been playing Portal 1, followed by Portal 2. They are developed by Valve and they are published by Valve. And they are, if I remember correctly, the last game Valve ever did, right? They haven't done anything since then, have they?
Totally true.
Yeah, except for Half-Life 3, right? Because that's coming soon, yeah? But yeah, so the original Portal was released on October 10th, 2007. The second one was released on April 19th, 2011. So they're about, what, 4 years apart, give or take. You can get them both on PC, Mac, Linux, PS3, and Xbox 360. So if you have a PS4 or PS5, I'm sorry, you cannot play Portal. However, if you do have an Xbox, you can because of backwards compatibility. But otherwise, you can pick it up on PC. And one of the great things about, because I do a little bit of PC gaming, but I typically am really late to the party on PC gaming. But that means that my computer doesn't have to be that fancy because older games don't require modern specs. So I was able to play it in its optimized version, and it worked out really, really well for me. Um, so basically, the way the game works is you are a character named Chell. I don't know how anybody ever figured that out because her name is never said anywhere in the game. So I guess it must have been in the promotional art or something. But anyway, you're playing as Chell, the silent protagonist, and you wake up in Aperture Labs, which is a competitor with Black Mesa. Black Mesa are the guys from Half Life, the ones that created the portal and allowed the Combine to come through and created that whole mess. So Aperture was kind of their competitors, and what they were doing was I looked up a little bit yesterday. So apparently Aperture was originally designed to create shower curtains. Yeah, so that was their original thing, was developing shower curtains, and then after that the guy had kind of an epiphany or went crazy or something, and he started doing a whole bunch of other projects, and then all of them failed with the exception of the portal gun. And so that is the purpose of the game. Is you're well after the collapse of this company, but there's an AI that was created to facilitate the science going on there, and this AI went rogue, killed everybody, and now it's just in this continuous loop of needing to do test after test after test. So that's part of its kind of a positive feedback loop. Is every time it does a test, the AI feels happy, so it just wants to run test after test after test, and that's basically it. Is it just sets up these situations for you to get out of, and that's the entire game. So it's 100% a puzzle game. You have your portal gun, and you have two portals. When you start off, you basically only have access to one portal, which is, I believe, the orange one, and occasionally it'll have default blue portals set up, but you can't move them. But eventually you get the full portal gun where you have a orange portal and a blue portal, and you have to move around the level, and you can pick up certain objects like blocks and whatnot, and you have to move yourself around. And it has conservation of motion. So, if you jump off a really high ledge and you make a portal in the ground and then you fall into it, and then you have a portal on the wall, you come flying out that portal at the same velocity that you fell into the first portal. So you use that a lot to kind of, get yourself moving and across these big levels and whatnot. And of course you have, as I said, puzzles like maybe you have to have a button pressed in order to keep the door open. So you need to find a block and get the block to the button, get it on the button, and get yourself back to the door. There are various hazards. You have turrets. You have these kind of energy plasma balls, lasers, corrosive chemicals that if you touch the floor, the floor is lava kind of thing where you can't do that. And in the first game, they had rockets, but only right at the end, which is kind of a shame because that was kind of an interesting mechanic. But they introduced it right at the end, and it was for the final boss fight. And there was only one other case of a rocket in the rest of the game, which was you had to blast open a window. But yeah, what I liked about it was the puzzles are actually really interesting. It's really kind of to figure out, how do I get from here to there, and how do I launch myself and whatnot. Portal is notorious for its humor. I really enjoyed that. GLaDOS is great. She has a very dry sense of humor. GLaDOS is the AI that is running the show. Waitley, who is the AI in the second game, he also has a kind of a, not a dry sense of humor, but kind of he's funny and he doesn't realize it kind of thing. And what I really like, though, I think my favorite part of the game is that these puzzles are kind of difficult, but they're not extremely difficult. And because of that, you're probably not going to instantly be able to figure out what you're supposed to do. But, you kind of stand there for a second and stop, and you look around and you're like, okay, I need to get up there. And so the only way to get up there is I'd have to jump from here. But to get to here, I'd have to, get enough momentum. So I have to, so I put a portal here, and then I, put a portal here on the floor, and then I jump in the floor, and then, and so there's when you do finally figure it out, you have a tremendous sense of accomplishment. And I think there are very few games where I've felt as accomplished in this. Like, you figure it out and you're like, yeah, I'm a genius, So I think they did a really good job of having that difficulty set at, it's not overly frustrating, but you do still have that sense of completion when you do it. And so I think that was probably my favorite part of the entire game. It's just that feeling of accomplishment you get. And they do definitely throw new things at you. Like I said, at the end of the game, they had rockets. Earlier they have laser balls, and they have, your cube that you need to move around and that sort of thing. And they do a pretty good job of, you have maybe a level, and the level will have one new trick that you need to pick up. And so you need to kind of figure out this new trick. And then in the next level, they might implement that same trick again, but now they add kind of onto it. So there is kind of, you do feel a feeling of progression where, when you start off, you're kind of like, okay, just put one on the wall here, put one on the wall here, walk through. But then by the end of it, you're really starting to figure out like, okay, I can build momentum. And if I put this on a slanted one, I'll launch me at this angle. And so they did a really good job of building it. And the other good thing, and this is both something I liked and something I didn't like, was that the game is extremely short. Like I said, I beat it in around 3 hours. The second one was a little bit longer, but it's good because if you don't have a lot of time, this is the kind of game where you can kind of pick it up. If you're a parent and you only have 30 minutes to play a day or something like that, you can do 30 minutes, you can knock out a level or a level or two, figure them out. You get that sense of accomplishment, like I've actually done something in the game, because they're relatively short. And you have that, and then you put it down, and then you go off and do what else you need to do, and you come back later, and you can finish it, and even then you could probably finish it in a couple of weeks if you're only doing a half hour a couple days a week. And because of that, I think I think the length is really, really good. People have that, like, oh, I actually completed something, this is wonderful, and that feeds into that sense of accomplishment right there. But again, it's also kind of a bad thing because really you feel like when you're starting to hit your stride and you're really starting to figure out a lot of these really cool tricks, then usually you're getting close to the end. So it throws a little bit at you, throws a little bit more, throws a little bit more, throws a little bit more, and then by the time you're really kind of getting accomplished, then it just kind of it's like, okay, well, now you figured out everything, great, it's over. So that was disappointing. Another thing I didn't really like was that it is fairly linear. I've heard online that people say there are multiple ways to solve some of these puzzles, but I mean, maybe there is. Maybe if I went back, I would see something where I was like, oh, I should have done it this way. This is the more efficient way because now I've picked up newer skills and whatnot. But I don't know if that's entirely true. It seems like most of them are pretty straightforward in what you're kind of supposed to do. So because of that, I think it is fairly linear. I would have liked a little more going off the rails or whatnot, especially in the second game, because in the second game, you're playing years and years and years after the first game, and your character's basically been in cryostasis, and the laboratory is just falling apart. It's just in a horrible state of decay. And because of that, you do spend a lot of time not in the testing chambers, but kind of in the tunnels or the walkways of the actual lab itself. And this is something that when I was playing the first game, I always thought, oh, the portal gun works on every surface except for special surfaces. Special surfaces won't work. But when you're playing the second game, because a lot of the time you're spending time outside the laboratory, your portals don't stick to a lot of things. So it actually, then it became apparent that no, it's the other way around. Portals only work on certain surfaces, not only certain surfaces don't work with portals.
Oh,
So
okay.
most of the time you can't shoot portals wherever you want. There's usually, you have to find like a concrete wall or something like that. And the other problem that I don't really enjoy is it is because I'm a story guy, and there's definitely a lot of story there, but it's very surface level. There's not a lot of depth to it. So basically, as you go through, you get everything. Everything in the story is told to you over loudspeakers. Basically, is GLaDOS talking to you, or Watley talking to you, or hearing some of these recordings of Cave Johnson, who's the guy who founded the company. So it's all kind of pre-scripted, but you can't you can't go into the computers and look at emails or anything like that if you want kind of a more in-depth story of what's going on. It's a very surface level story. And so for me, it would have been nice to be able to collect a little bit of background lore or something like that, because you do know that they're in direct competition with Black Mesa, but there's no real. It's just references when somebody says like, "Oh, those guys at Black Mesa," and then that's it. So I would have liked a little more in-depth story. And in the first one, there are parts where you can kind of go off the beaten path. There's like a hole in the wall, and you go in there, and they write, the cake is a lie on the wall. But that's basically all they write is the cake is a lie, the cake is a lie, the cake is a lie. So you don't get a lot of, you don't see what the other people who are going through this experience of being tested were having, other than the fact that they're unhappy with the cake. So, and I also would have liked more boss fights. Most of the game is kind of figure it out. It's not too Twitch heavy, but at the end of the game, at the end of both games, there is a boss fight. And I would have liked to see more of that throughout the game, as opposed to just, puzzle all the way to the end. And then at the end, there's a boss fight. I would have liked to see more of those kind of things. So that would have been nice. But yeah, that's basically my review of Portal. And for the people that would enjoy it, I would say people who enjoy puzzles, like Myst, or to an extent Myst, or Seventh Guest, or even Devotion, but more people who want more of an action-oriented puzzle, as opposed to or they still want brain teasers, but they want a little more action to it. They're not just like, oh, okay, I found this ruby. Now I need to find a statue and insert the ruby in the eye, that sort of thing. So yeah,
Okay. Um, so I mean, you've got a selection of games on computer, I imagine anyway. I mean, the
yeah.
Epic Store free stuff, Steam stuff, stuff you've picked up.
Well,
Why
not
did
Epic Store, but yeah,
why? Oh, yes, yes, we talked about that last week. Yes, I
yeah,
forgot
exactly.
you have yet to partake of the
I have
Epic
yet to
Store's
partake. Yeah.
free games. Why did you decide to start with these games, PC wise?
Okay, so I picked up Portal a long time ago when it was on sale, and I think it was something like 66 NT for the two games, for Portal 1 and 2, something like that, or maybe it was
Cheap.
like 120 or something like that. Yeah, it was either $2 for two games or $4 for two games. It was super 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 cheap. And I'd always wanted to play Portal. I'd always heard a lot about it, but I never just gotten around to it. And so I it's been in my backlog for a long time, and it's actually one of the few games that I have on Steam that have been sitting in my backlog, because I usually don't pick up games on PC unless they're only available there, like for instance Portal. Uh, but basically, what was happening was, because we started streaming, and I was currently at that time streaming on PlayStation, and the PlayStation only allows you to stream to one, I guess, channel platform at a time. So I
Yes.
could stream to Twitch or I could stream to YouTube, but I could not stream to both. And we've been trying to kind of expand our horizons. So, we've been trying to do triple streaming, where we stream simultaneously on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube all at the same time. And I couldn't do that with the PlayStation. So I thought, you know what? I should do at least one day a week where I'm triple streaming, just to, try that out. And so I needed to play something on my PC, and Portal was the game that had been sitting in my backlog for a really long time, and was pretty much the one I wanted to play. Most of the other games that I have on PC are multiplayer games that I've been playing with friends, Vermintide with you, or Civilization 6 with some of my friends from the States, or Endless Legends, that sort of thing. So Portal seemed like the best choice at that time of what I could play on the PC. And so that's why I chose Portal. And then shortly thereafter, we had the news where Devotion was going to be on GOG, and then CD Projekt Red delisted it. And then I was like, you know what? I got to play that game. So I put that one in right after the first Portal. And then after I finished Devotion, I went to Portal 2. And then after I finished Portal 2, I went to Detention, the other Red Tech Candle game. So yeah, I'm gonna be, once I finish that one, I need to figure out another PC game, or else I'm gonna have to pick up something else on the PlayStation, because now I've figured out the triple streaming on PlayStation thing, so I can do that now. But
Oh, cool.
yep. So I've been doing that recently. But yeah, that's why I chose Portal, and I'm very happy with it.
Did it
I'm
live
just
up to
disappointed with
your
the
expectations? I mean, I've heard about Portal 1 and Portal 2, I mean, forever. And you've probably, I mean, we were about the same age, so did it live up to expectations after you finished them?
Have you played the Portals?
No, 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 I don't do puzzle games.
What? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it did. It completely lived up to my expectations, I would say. A lot of times, you have an idea of what a game's going to be in your head, and it's not that. But Portal, I think the premise is just so simple that you really couldn't expect much different than what you end up getting.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no tech trees, there's no uh, choices to make, there's no dialogue options. It's purely, you're in a room or in a series of rooms. You have to figure out how to get from point A to point B while activating X, Y, and Z, and you use the portals to do it. And that's 100% what the game is. So yeah, it was exactly what I expected.
And I mean, given, this is like easily an affordable game, it's an old game as well. You have a relatively newer computer, I would say mid-range from what you've said. And so
Mid
Portal
range
1,
now.
w-
It was nice when I got it.
did Portal 1 and Portal 2? Did it run well? Any problems? Any hiccups while you were streaming in case somebody else wants to stream Portal?
Oh no, it ran like I said. This is one of the things about when I do play PC games. I typically play older ones. Um, I built my well, I should say I built it. I didn't build it, but I had my PC built, and this is I'll go on that in a second. But I had it built because my friends and I were playing Civilization 6, and when my wife and I got married, we got a computer, and I'd always kind of wanted to build a gaming computer, but then there was a deal that they had at the 3C stores here, the electronics stores, that you could buy two computers and the price was reduced. And so we got one, and then my brother-in-law got one. And because of that, our computer was it was a mid-range PC, not for gaming, but just in general a mid-range PC. It was designed for Excel and word processing and that sort of thing. So it was okay. But I remember back then I was playing StarCraft 2, and I had to play it on the mid-range settings. So it wasn't that great. So when we were getting a new PC, I thought, I want to get a gaming PC. I would not a super great one, but a good one. And at that time, my friends and I were playing Civ 6. So I specifically went in thinking, okay, I need a game that's going to run Civ 6 at its highest settings. And Civ 6 is not a super intensive game. It's not The Witcher. It's not this, but I figured if I can play Civ 6 at the highest settings, I should be able to play most other games at decent settings. So that's when I got it. But yeah, it ran Portal perfectly fine, and there were absolutely zero problems with it. And I mean, this game, the original one, is 13 years old. The second one is 9 years old. I mean, the first one was designed for the PS3. So yeah, any modern computer is going to be able to run this at probably the max settings. And unless you're running a potato, I think you're going to have zero problems with it. But yeah, back to the building of my PC thing. This is kind of interesting. So people always say, you should build your PC. Don't buy it pre-made, right?
Yes.
Well, here in Taiwan, actually, what you can do is you can go to the store, give them the list of the parts that you want, and they'll build it for you free of charge if you buy all the parts from their store. So,
That is
um,
that is the yes, yes, because I've done that for a few people and they've just said, yeah, we'll build it for you. I'm like, that is the wonders of Asian service.
yeah, no, and yeah, free of charge too. They're like, oh yeah, you get this, and the best part was they'll upgrade stuff. Like I think I have a 10. I don't remember if I have a 1060 or 1070. Was it GTX? Is that what it was?
I think you
I
have a
have the box over there.
1070.
I think I have a 1070. Yeah, but they had the two when I got it, and they had one was Asus, and the other one I don't remember who made it, but the Asus one they were saying, oh, the Asus one's a little bit better, but it's this price, and then the other one it's good, but not quite as good as the Asus one, but it's this price. And I thought, well, if they're pretty comparable, I'll get the lower priced one. So I got the lower priced one, and they were like, okay. And then they went into the back and they were getting ready to build it, and then they were like, oh, it turns out we don't have that one in stock. We only have the Asus one. We'll give you the better one, but we're going to charge you the original price since that's what we agreed on. So yeah, so exactly. So it's if you want to build it for fun, but otherwise you don't have to. You just have to tell them what you want, and they'll
In
put it together
in
for you.
Taiwan,
In
though.
Taiwan, yeah, in the
Yes.
states probably not, but in Taiwan, yeah, it's so yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, does this count as a pre-built or does this count as building it yourself? I don't really know, but yeah,
Next computer, you've got to build it yourself, man.
well, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Does it count? Did they build it from? Is it built myself because it's all custom built, or is it? I don't know. It's custom built, so I guess that's the word for it.
Custom built, yes.
Yeah. So what
Okay.
about you, Slime Rancher? I've heard so much about it and I've never played it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I had gotten on a sale because, oh, and this video is in the wrong place. I'm gonna switch these around. Slime Rancher, you go here. Alright, and let's do that, and then I can put myself back. That's what happens when I haven't done this in a while.
So every time I hear Slime Rancher, I think a combination of Monster Rancher and World of Goo. Is that a accurate?
God, I played World of
Caught
Goo for like all of 10 minutes before I realized, this is too irritating.
puzzle games. I
Exactly.
loved World of Goo.
And I've heard of Monster Rancher. Oh, but you did talk about Monster Rancher, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've never played this kind of game before, but if you were watching yesterday, I played Robook first, and then I played the second, and this has been giving me all sorts of like weird streaming issues. But I mean, that's besides the point. Towards the end of yesterday's stream, if I in disabled stream preview in OBS, this was running fine, and you'll even see this in this stream in the video that this is gonna slow down ridiculously because when this video was taken, I had to disable OBS stream preview so that this could run smoothly. But Slime Rancher basically is a game, and I should tell you guys the stats and all that stuff. It is developed by Nick Popovich, published by Monomi Park, released 2016, not no particular date that I could find. Only available on last gen console, so no Xbox Series X, no PS5, Windows, Mac, and Linux. I've only played 4 to 5, probably more than that now. So basically, play as a female rancher. I don't think there's an option to change your gender. Not that it really matters anyway. In my opinion, maybe it does for some people. You are dropped onto this alien planet with these like cute slimes that do stuff and jump around, and some are menacing, some are not. And your job is to hurt them and make money off them and make money off their, droppings. I'm not going to say any other word than that. Uh, with that money, you can buy upgrades to your little like vacuum gun, and you'll see me using it in the video at some point. I'm sure there's a proper name for that gun, but I never pay attention to this kind of stuff. You also, there's tons of upgrades. It's sort of like and I'll say this again in the end, like your sort of Stardew Valley Animal Farm, sort of economic, earn money and spend your money on rewarding yourself and your farm and upgrading until you develop this huge, economic monetary engine. And yeah, basically that's pretty much what you do and you learn stuff. I would say this game compared to Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, very little is explained. So if I didn't have people who are watching like Lulavalu and Crian, which is he's a Brazilian guy who've been watching me play this, and they usually have been giving me tips like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. I'm like, oh man, some people would be irritated by that. They want to discover. I do not want to discover things. Somebody tell me, I'd rather just do it. So, any questions so far, Adam?
No, I'm just watching the video. It's very laggy, as you said.
Yes, super,
So,
super lucky. Let's skip. Let's skip. I
so
think.
what? I mean,
There we go. There it goes back there. Yeah.
okay. So, what exactly is the goal? I mean, are you just trying to make money, or you
Pretty
trying to?
much.
Okay.
There's
So,
no stated goal. You get like quests and stuff from other ranchers who are, I guess, on the planet or on other planets, and um, there's no goal. It's just basically when you start off, you get told, make money, and you just make money. Um, there's a story now that I think about. You decide to leave Earth for a life, a more peaceful life, and I guess you decide to become a slime rancher. And that's pretty much it. That's all I've been doing. I haven't There's no force sort of like propelling you through the game saying, "Hey, you need to do this." Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I like, slimes are cute. Farming upgrade loop is really, really rewarding. It's pretty easy to make money, and there's so much stuff to do. There's lots of different gear, lots of things to do. Like today, I'm gonna upgrade the pens, or today I'm gonna try to catch this kind of slime, or today I'm gonna go to this area and deal with this thing. There's lots of hidden mechanics as well, which even without people telling me, I've discovered things. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, I gotta be careful of that, or I've gotta do that next time. Even in the sense of some of the times I'm like, oh my God, I could have done this way better because actually I could re-destroy stuff and restart again. So it's like sometimes you're like, oh man, I've done this whole economic engine in the wrong way. I should actually do this a different way. And of course, my big thing is like I've been enjoying Cyberpunk a lot, but I've just been feeling for something relaxing. This is just so relaxing, nice, easygoing music, very low pressure. There's like I've said in this game, there are bad things, but it's just like some slimes that will attack you and do damage, but you take like 10 damage a time. And if you'll see sometimes in the gameplay, there'll be slimes with like spikes and stuff, and those things can hurt you, but they're not gonna like one hit, one kill you. So you're just like, oh my god, I got hurt, run away. Or you can like vacuum slimes with your gun and hold them on your gun and just shoot them far away from you, which is pretty cool. Um, what I don't like is I did wish they explained more because I hate having to like do like sort of figure out things or Google things. Whenever I Google things, I feel like I'm cheating. Um, it's not very well optimized. You've already seen this. It runs poorly. I mean, it runs fine at 4K medium, but given this game is 4 years old, it should run a lot better because I do have a 1080 GTX. I mean, which is 3 generations behind, but this was the height of graphics cards when this game came out. It would be cool if there's multiplayer. It would have been cool for more DLC. There is DLC in the game, but it's all cosmetic DLC, which is unfortunate. Um, as for people who would like to play the game, as I said before, people who love Stardew Valley, people who love Animal Crossing, people who love Littlewood, which is a game I'm probably going to be streaming end of this month on the Switch, farming games or relaxing games. That's about it.
So I noticed in the stream you're putting the different slimes in different color coding them. Basically, is that a good idea or is that just a Korean thing?
No, well, that's because you have to, because each of the slimes have a different diet.
Oh,
So
okay.
the pink slimes, they eat anything. And you'll see the other slimes, the blue slimes, they only eat fruit. And the cat slimes only eat meat.
Oh, okay.
So my
Interesting.
problem in the game at the moment is that I'm struggling to produce enough chickens to feed the cat slimes, which is why I've kept their population low.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, looking at it, it looks. Yeah, I don't know. I just like if I'm looking at say something like Stardew Valley or something. I expect like really lush and green, and here it just kind of looks like you're in a desert. Is it? Are there different biomes and stuff like that, or is it? And you've just been playing in the one, or?
Because I mean, I mean, I guess this game I've heard is like 30-ish hours. I'm about six, seven, maybe eight. And I've only been playing the one just because there's been so much stuff to do, so many things to select. I just want to make sure, oh, this is working, this is perfect. Like in the game, you have to manually feed your slimes in the beginning, and so that takes time. But eventually, you can upgrade it to have an auto feeder and an auto like a money collector stuff. So I'm trying
Oh,
to get
okay.
that done so I can have more time to do other stuff. So it's there's so much you got to collect the crops and feed the slimes, and then you need to manage the money as well because the price of the money that you get from the slimes goes up and goes down based on the intergalactic stock market. So sometimes you need to store the stuff like, okay, tomorrow it's going to go up, or maybe I'm like, oh, this price sucks, but 2 days ago, in game days, the money was better. So maybe I store this and keep it out for 2 days. Maybe it will go up that time. And there's that element which I just literally figured out one day ago. So there's so much stuff the game doesn't tell you, like, oh man. So I can imagine this is probably replayable only once. Because after you played it the first time, you realized all your mistakes. You can like pretty much play this and get things started up much faster and much more efficient later on.
Okay, yeah, this is very different than what I had in my mind when I always heard Slime Rancher.
Me
So,
too. I mean, I'd seen it being played. I mean, the last few years, I've seen streamers play it. I'm not really like focused and watched the stream, but playing it myself, I'm like, oh, really fun, really easy going. I love it, and if it there wasn't having so much performance issues, I would definitely keep playing it. So at the moment, I found a solution to yesterday's problem. I'm gonna give it a try today if I'm lucky, but maybe another day.
all right. So is it just the? So do you expand like more crops? Are there just the three slimes, or are there more slimes
There's
you haven't collected
tons of
yet?
slimes, like, and there's big, like these large slimes that I would like to capture at some point and see what they do. There are these slimes that are like they're stuck in a cave, so they don't get to eat food, and so if you feed them, they become momentary happy, and they offer some stuff. And there's tons of stuff that you can do, and there's areas that you need to unlock. So there's like you'll see them occasionally connected to where I am at the moment. There's an area to the east and an area to the west that costs like 1800 gold that allow me to expand the farm, and they will offer new areas for me to explore. There's these gigantic slimes as well that offer things, and I've got a slime key that apparently one of our viewers helped me get it. And then after I got it, I think he or she went to bed, and I'm like, oh God, what do I do with this thing now? So I've had this thing on me. I don't know what to do with it.
That's interesting. So this is kind of like one of those factory simulator type games, right?
Yes, but I'd say much more simple than Factorio, much more simple than Satisfactory. I played Satisfactory as well. My brother is a huge older brother, a huge fan of Satisfactory, and this is definitely made for people like me who are not big fans of complexity, or basically who are not big fans of things where your hand doesn't get held. Like this is simple enough that you don't need to have your hand held. But I think like Factorio as well, it's quite difficult. When I played it back in the day, I mean, it's still in early access. It was crazy difficult.
Do you think the fact that it's not hand holding and that because you said there was some things that you just didn't quite figure out and people were helping you with, do you think that's a designed feature where they're like, okay, we want people to have to figure it out, or you think it's kind of an oversight where they could have done it better and they just didn't?
I think they could have done it better. I think it was a design oversight. I think they, because I mean, this game is simple. You could figure stuff out eventually, but I think maybe that, I don't know. Now I'm thinking maybe it was a thing about them saying, "Hey, let's make it replayable," and by letting people figure stuff out as they play the game. So I'm not sure.
What would you say that this is? Because you said it's not multiplayer, right? It's a single player only.
No, single player only.
Oh, okay. Would you say this is probably a good game for, say, people with kids, though? I mean, it looks kind of cutesy and
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
simple
like
enough that children could play it.
yes, yes, it's definitely kids could play it. Um, a single day roughly will probably take you about 30, probably less, 20 to 30 minutes of gameplay. So, I mean, you could play. And actually, even if you don't even play, because the game allows you to save any time, so you can literally play for 10 minutes, save, and if you save at 9 o'clock in the game, and when you come back to play again, it will still be 9 o'clock when you reload.
How long would you say would be a good session play? Because I mean, obviously you could play for 2 minutes, but you're not going to get much done. What
Uh,
would you say like is a good amount of time where you feel like, okay, I've actually accomplished kind of something?
that's a fantastic question. I would say, yeah, about 20 to 30 minutes. Basically, one in-game day allows you to sort of do some things, get some planning done, do some farming, get some money, maybe get one or two upgrades. That would be it.
Okay. Yeah, going back to Portal, thinking the same thing, I would say probably if you wanted to actually have that sense of accomplishment that you've done something, yeah, it's probably around the same amount of time, would maybe be uh, 20 to 30 minutes, because for a hard puzzle, it might take you that long to do it. But on an easier puzzle, you could probably do it in, say, 5, but you don't have that same sense of accomplishment. So, yeah, I'd say probably a half hour is probably similar for Portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're not yet ready to call it reps. I don't know if Adam, if you
Not
saw
quite.
this, I might pick your mind about some recent gaming news.
Okay.
So as of this morning, Taiwanese time, so it would be, I mean, 13 hours behind American time. EA is apparently going to decide whether to triple down on Anthem 2.0 this week. So at the end of this week, we'll know if Anthem is gonna be a thing or it's gonna die. What do you think?
Ah, so they are actually considering letting it die. I was wondering that for a while if they were actually going to do that. I've seen it on sale a couple times on the PSN store and whatnot, and I've considered maybe I should get it because it was super cheap. It'd be like 200 NT or something like that, just ridiculously cheap. And I know that there's not a lot of content in the game, so it was the gamble would be, are they actually going to fix it? Because if they did, I could get it super cheap now, and then I'll have it for later. But if they don't, then well, there's your $200. Sorry, bye. Which isn't a lot. 200 is what, about $6 US, give or
Yes,
take.
yes,
Pretty
roughly.
cheap. So I mean, it's not a loss really. But yeah, it's interesting because people have been asking about it for a really long time. It's like, you said you were going to do this. Are you actually going to do it, or are you just going to abandon it? But you said EA, not BioWare.
EA, yes, that is
So this
exactly
is
what
so
the
this is
headline.
coming from the top. This isn't.
Yes, it says EA. I'll read you the exact headline. EA reportedly deciding whether to triple down on Anthem 2.0. They shouldn't, is the headline of the Forbes article.
Why triple down and not double down?
Because I guess with Anthem 2.0, when they gave them the extra time, was a double down, and now it's triple down
So
for.
basically, they haven't been doing anything this whole time. Is what it's saying.
I had imagined to fix the base game is just because the base game itself is broken. I mean, our friend of the show, Hans, he's played it on the PlayStation 4, and he is like, it's good, but not great.
That's what I heard was that they had a really good idea and a really good premise, but it was just lacking in content. It was just too empty, and there just wasn't enough to do.
I heard, like for someone like me, I love, guns and, guns and games, and people said like guns and Anthem felt like an oversight. The only way to sort of
Oh no,
do stuff well. Why? Oh no. Oh,
that's what.
that's fine. So hello,
That's Yoda.
cat. But basically, the guns in the game felt like an oversight, and the powers themselves were the only way to actually play the game and enjoy it. And for me, that kind of sucks because I mean, like, I love guns and I love like the Iron Man stuff that you can get in the game and the missiles and that sort of stuff. But apparently, like the powers that your suits have are the only way to really play the game.
He likes being on camera, apparently. Um, yeah, no, from what I heard, because when they originally were talking about it, they were talking about like they were showing, it's going to have that Destiny kind of, you know, feedback loop where you can get the better guns, and the better guns allow you to do harder content, and the harder content allows you to get better guns. But then I heard when people were actually playing it, they were like, oh, well, the weapons are okay, but really it's the content, and that you're not, it didn't feel like you were becoming more powerful and then doing harder content. It felt like you were getting more powerful and then just doing the same content again. And I think that's what a lot of people were kind of complaining about. And so they were saying that they were going to add a lot more. What was the thing? And not dungeons, but they had like a special word for it. But there were these like kind of in-game dungeon kind of things that they wanted to
They probably
do.
do have. I feel like I vaguely recollect that word, but yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
it was something, I don't remember what they called, but they had like a special word for it, and they wanted to add that, and it was basically like the equivalent of raids and that sort of thing. And um, and then the drop in, drop out, where you're running around the world and you can see other people doing stuff. And but yeah, from what I heard, it was just kind of, the idea was that it was supposed to be this live service game similar to Destiny, but then it was just so empty that people would burn through all the material in 10 hours, and it's kind of like, okay, now it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. There's nothing, I'm just doing that, I'm just grinding the same things over and over and over again.
Pretty
um
much.
yeah,
Yes.
but people really liked from what I heard, people liked the environment itself. They enjoyed the
Yes.
flight,
Yes.
especially. They thought that was really cool. They enjoyed the powers that the suits had and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I If I had to guess, I would say EA is probably going to drop it, just because that's kind of
I agree.
what EA does. Also because now Outriders is on the horizon,
Yes.
and I think Outriders is very, very similar to Anthem in the fact that it's a third person shooter, and the fact that it's this kind of open world, people have powers. And I think in EA's case, they're probably going to say, you know what? If we had done this a long time ago, maybe it would have been worth it. But at this point, most people have probably forgotten about Anthem. It's kind of a joke now. Outriders is coming up. People are going to be excited about that. We're going to have to work twice as hard just to kind of redeem ourselves. Just cut your losses and move on, I think. So I would say Anthem's probably, yeah, probably dead. Um, but some people are speculating. Some people were saying too that they might just skip Anthem 2.0 and just go actually make an Anthem 2, a second game.
I think that. I mean, Anthem was 5 years in development. If they're making Anthem 2, I mean, we're gonna get it like 2024.
Oh, well, I mean, that was speculation. That people were saying maybe they should just go with Anthem 2. Just don't even worry about trying to overhaul the original game. Just start over.
No.
But I don't think they're going
Yes.
to do that. I think the
Yeah.
IP is basically just going to, I think it's going to, show up as a Easter egg reference in Mass Effect or something, and that's the most Anthem we're going to be getting in the future.
I think we'll get it, but I think they'll wait a decent amount of time, 2, 3 years maybe, and then I think you're probably right. I think they'll start developing it, but they'll stick to like a 5, 6 year plan, and then after everyone's is sort of low in your memory, or at the back of your brain, and they're like, oh, by the way, we're making Anthem 2.0. It's coming out next year.
But the problem with that though is if people have already moved on, then it's people are like, oh great, you're making Anthem 2.0. I have all these other games now to play that I'm looking forward to. I forgot about that game. That game's old news.
But I mean, if they're coming out with like a bang enough trailer, and it's phrased in the right way, and it's sort of got all the catchy things of whatever 5 years down the line is going to be, and people are like, this game had potential. Maybe they're finally gonna like. For me, I would definitely consider it, regardless of what else is coming that year, because unless there's another game that allows you to be like Iron Man, then I'm gonna get Anthem 2 or Anthem whatever it's gonna be called that time.
Well, Outrider. I mean, you're not like Iron Man, but
Yeah,
you have the
yeah,
powers
yeah.
and stuff. So, um, but
Let
yeah, so there's definitely that. Yeah, I personally I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna drop it. That's my
And I
that would
agree. I think
that
they're
would be
gonna
my
drop
bet.
it, but I think it's gonna come back.
It might. There's definitely that possibility.
All right, I've got one more interesting story that we've talked about before.
Okay.
Terraria creator cancels Stadia port after being locked out of Google account.
Oh, the Terraria guys.
Yeah, they one of the co-owners of the studio. I saw this on, I think he was his Twitter account this morning, and he was complaining. He was like, sorry, he contacted Google. He's like, man, I need to access my Google account. All the stuff for Terraria is on there, and Google just literally did not respond to him at all. And he was like, after waiting for like 2 days or 3 days, he's like, "What? You guys don't care? Well, I'm done. No Terraria for Stadia."
That's, how did he get locked out of his account? He just forgot his password.
I didn't actually read the story. I can tell you right now how he got locked out of it. Um, Terraria co-creator Andrew Spinks has announced that the game will no longer be coming to Google Stadia after his Google account was disabled. Sorry. The entire ordeal has been going around for 3 weeks when Spinks' studio Realogic had its YouTube channel taken down for currently unexplained reasons. In a thread between Terraria Twitter account and Team YouTube, the Terraria team explained that they had received an email regarding an alleged terms of service violation despite having posted no new content in several months. The email was assumed to have been received in error, but days later the account was disabled. It appears that Spink's personal email is the one assigned to Relogic's YouTube channel, where the dev taking to Twitter to announce that his Google account is still disabled, losing access to thousands of dollars of apps on Google Play, as well as his Google Drive and Gmail address. What? I didn't realize it was that bad.
So wait, it was all his personal stuff.
uh, he is the one who managed it, so it's the studio stuff.
Okay,
Yes,
but he had all those apps and stuff on there, and it's
yes.
all gone.
All disabled, so unable to earn money.
Ah, no, yeah, I would definitely, I would agree with him. It's like Google, if you're gonna do that, and I mean, and let's face it, we had the news about the Stadia. Was it last week or the week
I
before,
think it
where
was
they were
last
saying
week.
that, yeah, where they were saying we're not gonna do any first party stuff. So I think Google's just like, we don't care, we're big. I think it's one of those things where it's,
But
yeah,
I
like
mean,
they're just so big they don't care anymore.
I mean, totally true. But I mean, it's literally Terraria is one of the games. I mean, it's been around for 10 years now. It has a cult following on YouTube and tons of mods. And I mean, it's not going to hurt Google, but I mean, it's really really silly on Google's part.
Oh no,
Terraria
it's super silly.
would have been such a great game to come to Stadia. I mean, I mean, would have been such a good catch for Stadia. But I mean, like you said, I think it just maybe Google's just we're done with Stadia, maybe.
Yeah, and that would be my thing. Is I would think. I mean, granted, if you lose access to stuff, you would still hope that Google, regardless of Stadia, would be like, "Oh, we're sorry, you got, we'll fix your account or whatever." But yeah, I think at this point, Google's kind of given up on Stadia. They don't care, so it's kind of like, it's like, "Oh, you guys didn't do this. I'm going to take it off Stadia." I think Google's like, "Okay, whatever." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, no, I agree. It's such a shame. Relogic
It is.
is such a good company, such a good company. I mean, Terraria is a fantastic game, and it's a shame that Google's gone in this direction. And Stadia could have had so much potential, but I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, I wish I had 300 million to just blow on something and then give up, like we talked about last week.
Yes. All right. Adam, what are we looking like? Because Chinese New Year is coming up. What are we looking like for
Yes.
streaming for you?
I am not sure. So, okay, so tomorrow I'm not going to be able to stream because I have an appointment. I suppose I theoretically could stream later than usual. Normally I would stream at 10. I could maybe do it at 11, but can't guarantee anything.
Okay.
Friday maybe, but yeah, because of the Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year is the more politically correct term, I suppose now, but people here still say Chinese New Year. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll try to stream, but family comes first,
Of
and
course.
family things come up, and it's one of those like, oh, okay, time to stream, and then brother-in-law is like, hey, everybody, come over and play mahjong, and it's like, all right, I guess we're going to play mahjong. So I'm not gonna make any promises, but I'll try.
Okay. Me, I'll be editing the show this week as usual, so unlikely to stream today. Um, might just play by myself like 30 minutes before I go to bed, maybe. But I'll be streaming Wednesday and but Friday as well. Like Adam, I want to stream because Friday night I'm gonna be playing some Breakpoint with my brothers at night. I might stream in the morning depending on timing and that sort of stuff. Next week, Monday, so Sunday night American time, Adam and I are gonna attempt a Vermintide dual stream. No cameras, unfortunately. We're gonna focus on the gameplay, but at least you'll be able to listen to us and our witty banter, as they say.
Yes.
Next week, Monday, and the holiday, last day of the holiday is Tuesday. But we'll keep you updated. I might do a video and stuff, which I've been meaning to do this week, just to talk about what's going on with the channel and what's going on, like what are we streaming, what's the future, that sort of stuff. I mean, we did talk about it earlier last year, but sort of update things and the way things are going. And if you haven't watched Adam's PS Vita video, you should watch it. It is somewhere around 700 views as of I checked a few minutes ago.
Whoa. Okay,
Yes.
that's a lot more than I expected.
I think I was gonna tell you like while you were talking. I'm like, oh no, I should save this for then. But yeah, you're about 700 views and about 31,000 impressions.
Excellent. Well, I hope more people try to find some PS Vitas out there and pick them up because they're no longer in production, but they're an amazing little thing.
All right, good. And that is my cue to wrap it up. Oh, Jesus, what are we doing next week, Tuesday?
Because it's Chinese New Year, my dream would have been to do an AMA just in general of life in Taiwan and that sort of thing, get some of the local culture and whatnot. But unfortunately, that would require people actually signing into chat and talking to us. So maybe
I
we'll have
mean,
to save
we
that for
could do
next
it
year or
between
something.
ourselves. I mean, we could talk about, when we came to Taiwan and life experiences and that sort of stuff and change. And I mean, how things have changed for you, how things have changed for me, learning the language and food and working and the culture. Yeah, we could go between ourselves.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think it's it's kind of an interesting thing, and I can't think of a better time to do it than Lunar New Year.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Okay, so that is the show for next week. Two non-Taiwanese people talking about life in Taiwan and both of us having lived here over a decade.
yes, so make sure you sign up or sign into some form of chat, be it Facebook or whatever, so you can ask your questions or email us earlier on,
Yeah,
and then we can have a list of questions that we can answer. So
sure, sure. I think this would be a good thing to advertise as well, because I think I always see loads of people wanting to come to Taiwan because we are very, very safe at the moment. And
relatively COVID free,
yes, yes, exactly.
relatively.
Relatively, exactly. Okay, and that's it for today. Sorry it was a bit shorter. I mean, I guess it wasn't that much shorter than usual, but I hope you had a good time and you had a better idea of Slime Rancher and Portal. Keep an eye out for the Chinese Lunar New Year sale that's going on. Keep out on the Humble Bundle, the Epic Store, and you could get some of these on for a really, really good price. Adam?
Uh, Oops, I wasn't scrolling down on my script. I'm so sorry. And as always, if you'd like more of Middle Age Gaming, please follow and drop us a line at Middle Age Gaming 2020 on Twitch, at Middle Age Gaming on Instagram, at Gaming Aged on Twitter, Middle Age Gaming 2020 on Facebook, or of course, email us directly at middleagegaming2020 at gmail.com. And because next week we're going to be doing that whole AMA thing, feel free to email us. Prior to if you can't sign into chat and be there on the day to ask us questions, find us on Facebook or the email and send us your questions that you might have, and we'll answer them on the show for you. And yeah, so if you can't be there at the time, you can drop us something a little earlier.
That's fantastic. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, you know our names, and we're easily searchable. We're not hiding anywhere. Please do find us.
All right.
All right, and with that, we will see you guys next week, Tuesday, for a non-gaming news. Just a episode you get to know us and our lives and what's been going on. And we look forward to chatting with you guys next week.